Bruce Lee, martial artist, philosopher, movie star, and, as Joe Rogan puts it, the coolest guy that ever existed in movies.
Everybody wanted to be like Bruce Lee. He was the coolest guy that ever existed in movies.
He wasn't just a man. He was a force of nature. His lightning-fast reflexes and superhuman strength often seemed more like something out of science fiction than reality.
Bruce Lee kick, you don't shut your eyes, because when you shut your eyes, you cannot see Bruce Lee kick. You know how fast?
Who else could play ping pong with nunchucks or hold their entire body weight on just 2 fingers? No doubt, Bruce Lee's legacy has left the world in awe. Join us as we dive into 30 Bruce Lee moments that scientists cannot explain. Number 30. The sweat gland removal. Bruce Lee's quest for perfection knew no boundaries. In his relentless pursuit of a perfect on-screen image, he made a surprising decision. He had the sweat glands removed from his armpits. Concerned that sweat stains would spoil his pristine appearance in front of the camera, Lee took this drastic step. While it might seem like a small cosmetic tweak, it was a testament to his obsessive dedication to his craft. Some even suggest that this decision could have contributed to his tragic, untimely death, adding an eerie twist to his flawless image. However, no matter the consequences, Bruce Lee always presented himself in the best possible light, underscoring his commitment to perfection in every aspect of his life and career. His determination didn't stop there, though. He also pushed the boundaries of his physical abilities in mind-boggling ways. Up next is an unbelievable punch that defies the laws of physics. Number 29. The 1-inch punch. Bruce Lee's legendary 1-inch punch is the stuff of martial arts myth. Imagine delivering a devastating blow with just a tiny movement, barely an inch, and sending your opponent flying. It sounds like something out of a comic book, but Lee's mastery of this technique was very real. What made this punch so powerful wasn't just brute strength. It was about timing, precision, and perfect technique. Bruce utilized his whole body in one fluid motion, engaging his legs, core, and torso to unleash a burst of energy that transferred straight to his fist. This energy buildup made the punch hit with shocking force, even though it traveled such a short distance. In fact, scientists have studied the 1-inch punch and discovered that it generates the same force as a regular punch from much further away, just faster. With a punch like that, you'd think Lee had powers beyond human reach. But his abilities didn't stop at his hands. He took things to another level with a push-up move that seemed impossible. Number 28. 2-finger push-up. If you thought Bruce Lee was just a master of punches, think again. Lee could defy gravity in ways that would leave even the strongest athletes in awe. One of his most mind-blowing feats, performing push-ups on just 2 fingers. Imagine balancing your entire body weight on 2 fingertips. Sounds impossible, right? Yet, Bruce Lee made it look easy. This move wasn't just about finger strength, though it certainly required that. It was also about core stability, balance, and overall body control. His wrists, forearms, and fingers were pushed to the limit, but it was Lee's mental discipline that held everything together. Each push-up was proof of his dedication to physical mastery. Lee didn't just want to be great, he wanted to be the best in every way. With this custom move, he pushed the limits of his training. Speaking of custom tools, wait until you hear about the gear that was built just for him. Number 27. Lee's custom gear. Bruce Lee wasn't the kind of guy to settle for standard training equipment. If he needed something stronger, he had it specially made. One of the most iconic pieces of gear he used was a 300-pound punching bag reinforced with metal, designed to withstand the immense power of his punches. Lee's punches were so powerful that regular bags simply couldn't handle the force. But that wasn't enough for him. He worked with an even heavier, 700-pound bag designed for his punishing kicks. These custom tools were the perfect representation of Lee's commitment to pushing the limits of his body and technique. But Bruce didn't stop at just strength training. His focus on core conditioning was equally intense. Number 26. The Dragon Flag. Bruce Lee was all about core strength. He believed it was the foundation for nearly every movement and technique in martial arts. To build his core, he invented a workout called the Dragon Flag, a move so tough it's still admired by athletes today. The Dragon Flag requires you to lie flat on a bench, and then, with nothing but your shoulders touching the surface, lift your entire body into a straight line. From there, you raise and lower your body with total control, using nothing but your core muscles. The difficulty of this exercise is off the charts, but the results are equally impressive, giving Lee the power and control he needed in his martial arts. It's no surprise that today, the Dragon Flag is a staple in many training regimens, showing just how much Bruce Lee's innovation still influences fitness. The Dragon Flag became a symbol of Lee's genius, but his innovative approach didn't end there. Number 25. The JKD Master. Bruce Lee wasn't one to follow the crowd. While most martial artists stuck to one discipline, he did the unthinkable. He created his own. This was the birth of Jeet Kune Do, JKD, a martial philosophy that rejected rigid tradition and embraced practicality. Unlike other styles that followed set forms and patterns, Lee's approach was dynamic, pulling the best techniques from a wide variety of martial arts. Wing Chun, boxing, Tai Chi, Taekwondo, and Jiu-Jitsu all found their way into his training. But the real beauty of JKD was in its simplicity and adaptability. It was about doing what worked. No unnecessary moves, just efficiency and speed. Bruce Lee didn't just create a fighting style, he crafted a mindset. He immersed himself in philosophy, diving deep into the essence of a fighter's soul, combining Eastern and Western thought. His philosophy wasn't just about self-defense, it was about personal freedom. And unlike other martial arts, JKD was never static. Bruce Lee constantly evolved, refining and adapting it to new insights, ensuring that his style remained as fluid and unpredictable as the man himself. Speaking of unpredictability, there was another element of Bruce's genius that made him legendary: his lightning-fast reflexes. Number 24. The rice-catching feat. Now, most people would struggle with catching rice grains with chopsticks, but Bruce Lee didn't just see it as a fun party trick. He saw it as a way to develop razor-sharp reflexes. His ability to hone his focus and speed came from relentless training, and this chopstick exercise became a symbolic representation of his commitment to precision. It might sound simple, but it took incredible hand-eye coordination and split-second timing. Bruce believed that this kind of training would translate directly into his martial arts, helping him react in the blink of an eye during a fight. It's said he'd practice catching the smallest objects to test his reaction time. While there's no video of him performing this rice-catching feat, his commitment to training made it entirely believable. What's more impressive is how much his dedication to every detail shaped his iconic fighting style. And speaking of precision, there's one move in particular that exemplifies Bruce Lee's exactness: the infamous finger jab. Number 23. The finger jab. Bruce Lee's finger jab was one of his signature moves, lightning fast, surgical, and shockingly effective. Unlike a traditional punch, this jab was all about speed and pinpoint accuracy. The target, the eyes, every time. It wasn't about brute strength, it was about efficiency. Lee's finger jab could incapacitate an opponent in an instant, leaving them dazed and disoriented. He spent countless hours refining this technique, practicing with wooden balls and other small objects to perfect his aim. The move itself was deceptively simple, but in Bruce's hands, it was devastating. The sheer precision required to land such a jab made it clear. Bruce Lee wasn't just a fighter, he was a master technician. His whole fighting philosophy was built on eliminating unnecessary movements, focusing only on what was most effective. But despite his technical prowess, Lee wasn't just a tactician, he brought raw energy to his fight scenes. Number 22. Redefining realism. Bruce Lee revolutionized the world of fight choreography in film. While his contemporaries were focused on fancy moves and cinematic flourishes, Bruce aimed for something far more visceral: realism. He wanted his fight scenes to look like real combat, not staged performances. His battles weren't just about making things look cool. They were about authenticity, ensuring that every punch, every kick felt genuine. And that approach worked. Bruce Lee's fight scenes had a raw intensity that felt almost dangerous. He made it look effortless, but there was an undeniable energy that made audiences feel every blow. This raw, unfiltered combat style would go on to shape the future of action films, creating a lasting legacy that is still visible in today's fight choreography. But for all his technical skills, one of the most fascinating aspects of Bruce Lee's fighting ability was how nearly impossible it was to hit him. Number 21. The Unhittable. Bruce Lee wasn't just fast, he was an enigma. His opponents often found themselves swinging at thin air. Lee's speed was so otherworldly that it felt like he was always one step ahead, like he could predict what you were going to do before you even did it. His footwork was fluid and unpredictable, allowing him to slip in and out of range with the grace of a dancer, making him nearly untouchable. Fighting him was like trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer. You could try all day, but you'd never land a hit. It wasn't just his speed, it was his ability to read his opponent's every move. Bruce Lee didn't just react, he was always in control, constantly forcing his opponents to make the first mistake. It's no wonder that many believed he had mastered some kind of supernatural ability, but beyond his speed and reflexes, it was his overall philosophy and adaptability that made him truly legendary. Number 20. Ping pong with nunchucks. Imagine this: Bruce Lee, the ultimate martial arts legend, stepping up to a ping pong table, but instead of a paddle, he's holding nunchucks. Yes, nunchucks. Those chain-linked weapons that are difficult for most people to even hold properly, let alone play with. But for Bruce, it was no big deal. In a jaw-dropping promotional stunt for Enter the Dragon, Lee effortlessly volleyed the ping pong ball with precision and speed, making it look like a casual game. This wasn't just a cool party trick, it was a demonstration of his insane reflexes and martial arts brilliance. Bruce Lee was always more than a fighter. He was an innovator, blending art and martial skills. With this stunt, he not only elevated ping pong, but also gave nunchucks the mainstream attention they deserved. But if you think that's wild, wait until you hear about another one of Bruce's crazy displays of precision and control. Number 19. Nunchucks matchstick trick. Bruce Lee didn't just use nunchucks for combat, he turned them into an instrument of precision. Picture Lee balancing matchsticks in tricky positions, and then, with a flick of his nunchucks, lighting each one individually. It wasn't a simple trick, it was a testament to his unbelievable accuracy and control. What made this even more impressive was the challenge. Bruce had to use the exact right amount of force and timing to light the matchsticks without disturbing the others. This was no stunt. It was a demonstration of his intense focus and the mastery of his craft. With every swing, Lee proved that his skills weren't just for show. They were a result of years of relentless training. And speaking of mastery, did you know that Bruce's strength was just as impressive as his skills with nunchucks? Number 18. Unusual strength. Despite being relatively small in stature, Bruce Lee had an extraordinary level of strength that often caught people off guard. His impressive power wasn't visible in his frame, but his training routines revealed his true potential. While most people trained with standard punching bags, Bruce pushed the boundaries by using bags weighing over 135 kilograms, almost 3 times heavier than normal. His goal was to constantly challenge himself, and he did so with ease, tearing through these heavy bags as if they were made of paper. This strength, combined with his lightning-fast reflexes, made Bruce Lee an absolute force to be reckoned with. And yet, despite his power, it wasn't just his strength that set him apart. It was his incredible precision, which brings us to one of his signature moves, the flying kick. Number 17. The flying kick. When Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times," he wasn't joking. And if you've ever seen his flying kick, you'll understand why. This kick wasn't a random move. It was the result of hours of practice and perfecting the technique. Bruce had met Taekwondo master Jun Rhee in 1964, and together they exchanged knowledge on punches and kicks. It was there that Bruce began refining the flying kick. With remarkable speed, height, and precision, Lee turned this move into an unstoppable weapon. The sheer power and grace of his flying kicks were mesmerizing, and they became one of his trademarks. Speaking of power, did you know Bruce once delivered a slap so precise and powerful that it dislocated his opponent's shoulder? Number 16. Lee's devastating slap. A slap might not seem like much compared to a flying kick or a punch, but when Bruce Lee delivered one, it was anything but ordinary. Legend has it that he once slapped an opponent so forcefully and accurately that it caused their shoulder to dislocate. It may sound unbelievable, but the secret lies in Bruce's deep understanding of anatomy and his lightning-fast reflexes. By targeting a specific pressure point on the shoulder, he could send a shockwave through the body, causing the joint to give way. This wasn't just a random slap. It was a calculated strike with pinpoint precision. Lee's knowledge of human mechanics allowed him to use his opponent's body against them, making even the simplest of moves devastatingly effective. His slap wasn't just strong, it was science. Number 15. Blindfolded sparring. Bruce Lee didn't just impress with his incredible speed and power, he could spar with his eyes closed. In his famous blindfolded sparring sessions, Lee would tie a blindfold around his head, leaving him unable to see his opponent. Despite this, he was able to dodge punches, block kicks, and land counterattacks with stunning precision. So how did he do it? Bruce relied on his heightened senses, especially his ability to feel his opponent's movements through the air. He believed in feeling an attack before it even happened, trusting his instincts over visual cues. Lee's training wasn't just physical, it was mental too. He practiced clearing his mind, staying completely in the moment, and responding instinctively without overthinking. This intense mental discipline, combined with his refined reflexes, allowed him to perform at an elite level, even with his vision obstructed. It's a skill that makes you wonder, was Bruce Lee more than human? Number 14. The coin trick. Bruce Lee wasn't just a martial artist, he was also a master of trickery. One of his most impressive feats involved a simple coin, but when he performed his coin trick, it felt like magic. Imagine holding out your palm, and before you can blink, a coin vanishes, and another one appears. Lee's lightning-fast reflexes allowed him to palm a second coin while distracting you with his charisma, making the switch in the blink of an eye. The coin trick wasn't just a party trick, it embodied his entire martial arts philosophy. Speed, precision, and surprise were essential elements of Bruce's style, whether in combat or in showing off his skills. Much like his famous punches, this trick required perfect timing, flawless technique, and an understanding of human perception. It was a display of not just physical prowess, but also his sharp mind. This kind of lightning-quick movement was not limited to tricks when it came to filming. Number 13. Too fast for filmmakers. Bruce Lee's speed was so remarkable that it became a challenge for filmmakers. While shooting for the Green Hornet, directors had trouble capturing his movements on film. He was just too fast. Lee's punches and kicks were so rapid that the cameras of the time couldn't record them properly. He could land up to 9 punches and 6 kicks in just 1 second, a pace that seemed almost superhuman. Filmmakers had to ask him to slow down to make sure they could capture his stunning moves. But that's what made Lee so extraordinary. His speed wasn't just about flashy punches, it was about breaking the limits of what was physically possible. It wasn't just the technology that struggled to keep up, it was also the rest of the world. His speed redefined martial arts and set new standards for action stars and martial artists everywhere. But Lee didn't rely solely on speed. He had a special technique that could overwhelm opponents. Number 12. The straight blast. Bruce Lee's straight blast was one of his most powerful and effective moves. Inspired by Wing Chun, the straight blast was a relentless flurry of punches thrown in rapid succession. Unlike other martial artists who might telegraph their strikes, Lee's punches were quick and minimal, aimed directly at the center line of his opponent's defense. This approach made it almost impossible for the opponent to escape or counter. Bruce Lee's genius wasn't just in the speed of his punches, it was in the perfect alignment of his body. His footwork was always on point, ensuring that each punch was not only fast, but also grounded and balanced, ready for the next move. The straight blast became one of Lee's signature moves, a combination of aggression and precision. It's no wonder even experienced boxers found themselves caught off guard by its effectiveness. But Bruce Lee's power wasn't just in his punches. His hands, too, were deadly weapons. Number 11. The Iron Palm. Bruce Lee's Iron Palm method wasn't just about brute force, it was a science. Traditionally, Iron Palm training involved repeatedly striking hard surfaces like sandbags to toughen the hands, but Lee revolutionized the approach. He didn't just pound away mindlessly, he understood biomechanics and physiology, using them to maximize the power in his strikes without wasting any energy. He made sure his entire body was in peak condition, creating a holistic approach to martial arts. For Bruce, every movement needed to be efficient, and purposeful. His iron palm wasn't about shattering boards or breaking bricks. It was about delivering a strike so focused and powerful that it could incapacitate an opponent with a single hit. Lee's hands became lethal weapons, capable of delivering a crushing blow that would leave anyone in their path reeling. And while his hands were deadly, his mind was just as sharp. He approached every aspect of martial arts with the same level of discipline and focus. Number 10. The Armbar. Bruce Lee's genius wasn't just in his speed or power, it was in his understanding of technique. Take the Armbar, for example. In Enter the Dragon, he didn't just beat his opponent with brute force. He used his opponent's own arm against them in a perfectly executed move. This technique, borrowed from judo, involves locking the arm in a way that almost guarantees submission, all thanks to precise leverage. It's no wonder it became a staple in MMA, with fighters like Ronda Rousey taking it to legendary heights. And speaking of turning things around, there's another technique Lee perfected that could stop an opponent in their tracks before they even knew what hit them. Number 9. The stop hit. When Bruce Lee fought, he didn't just wait for an attack to come at him. He took control from the start. The stop hit was a perfect example of this. Picture it. A punch comes rushing toward you, but instead of waiting for it to land or dodge, Lee would intercept it mid-flight with a strike so fast it left no time for a defense. This move wasn't just about speed. It was about reading the opponent, anticipating their next move, and then disrupting their rhythm before they could even make contact. It's almost like Lee was one step ahead in the fight, blending offense and defense in a way few could ever replicate. It's a testament to his philosophy of efficiency and economy of motion. No wasted moves. But even the most skilled had their moments of conflict, and Lee himself found himself in one heated confrontation. Number 8. Lee and Lo Wei. Bruce Lee was known for his discipline and vision, and when those values clashed with others, things could get intense. One such moment reportedly happened on the set of The Big Boss, when Lee locked horns with the famed director Lo Wei. Known for his old-school approach to fighting choreography, Lo Wei's style didn't sit well with Lee, who wanted real, raw action. The tension eventually boiled over into a physical confrontation, and while the full details remain a bit hazy, the legend suggests that Lee showcased his signature speed and skill, coming out victorious. Lee's uncompromising vision didn't allow him to back down, especially when it came to perfecting his craft. That mindset also played a huge role in his informal challenges in the US, like those rooftop fights in Seattle. Number 7. Seattle Rooftop Fight. Before Bruce Lee became a global icon, he honed his skills in more intimate, unpredictable settings, like the rooftop bamboo fights in Seattle. These challenges, often referred to as crossing hands, were a way for Lee to test his abilities against real opponents, not just in controlled competitions. The bamboo fight setup was unique, offering limited space and fast-paced action that mimicked real-life scenarios. While stories of countless street fights are exaggerated, these rooftop encounters were crucial in shaping Bruce's combat style. They weren't just about showing off his moves. They helped him refine his technique under pressure. These were the moments where Lee truly tested the limits of his martial arts philosophies, but no matter how skilled he became, there was one legendary challenge that would forever define his journey. Number 6. Lee and Wong Jackman. In 1964, Bruce Lee faced off with Wong Jackman, a traditional martial artist, in a duel that would become the stuff of legends. The fight wasn't as theatrical as people often think. It was a quick, intense clash of styles, with Wong's defensive approach frustrating Lee's usual explosive offense. Despite this, Bruce Lee was victorious. But the real story here wasn't about winning. It was about the lessons Lee took from the experience. He recognized that his approach to martial arts needed more than just raw power. It needed to be adaptable and efficient. This duel marked a turning point in Lee's career, pushing him to refine his techniques and philosophy even further, setting the stage for the revolutionary martial arts system he would go on to create. Number 5. Superhuman senses. Imagine not being able to see clearly, yet still being able to land punches and kicks with pinpoint precision. Bruce Lee's eyesight was so bad that he needed thick glasses off-screen, but on the mat, it was as if his blurry vision was a non-issue. How did he do it? He relied on an extraordinary combination of heightened senses, especially hearing and touch, and sharp reflexes. His body could feel the slightest shift in an opponent's posture, almost predicting their next move. His training was relentless, refining his muscle memory so much that it became instinctive. He could anticipate attacks before they even happened, turning his weakness into an asset. It's like Bruce wasn't just fighting with his fists, he was fighting with his entire being, tuned into his opponent in a way few others could ever imagine. Speaking of anticipating moves, Bruce's ability to read situations was put to the test in another remarkable encounter. Number 4. Lee and Lau. Not all of Bruce's legendary fights were captured on film. One of the most intriguing tales was his secret bout against actor and martial artist Lau. Lau had publicly challenged Bruce, and despite initially resisting the idea, Lee eventually accepted. What followed was a private match at a police detective's estate in Hong Kong. Bruce, known for his discipline, showed just how fast and effective his technique was, defeating Lau in a matter of minutes. But Bruce didn't want to make a spectacle out of it. He kept the whole thing under wraps, choosing to protect Lau's reputation in the martial arts and film communities. This wasn't just about proving he was the best, it was about respect. Speaking of respect, Bruce's personal life was just as filled with values as his fighting career. Number 3. Commitment to family. Bruce Lee didn't just leave a legacy of martial arts mastery, he also showed the world how to maintain balance in life. While his fame skyrocketed across the globe, he made sure his family always came first. Despite his exhausting schedule, Bruce stayed deeply committed to his wife, Linda, and their 2 children, Brandon and Shannon. He shared his martial arts knowledge with Brandon, teaching him the same principles that guided him throughout his career. Bruce wasn't just training for himself, he was shaping his family's future as well. Finding the balance between being a global icon and a loving father wasn't always easy, but his discipline and focus allowed him to do both with grace. But let's not forget, there was one aspect of his life that seemed almost too good to be true. Number 2. Unmatched in combat. Bruce Lee didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. Sure, we know him from his iconic films, but what really set him apart was his real-life fighting record. He was practically unbeatable in a fight. Whether it was street brawls or matchups against seasoned martial artists, Bruce never lost. He didn't just specialize in one style. He mastered a range of disciplines, blending Wing Chun, boxing, fencing, and even jiu-jitsu into a unique fighting philosophy, Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. This innovative style allowed him to read and respond to attacks in ways others couldn't match. While some still debate his unblemished record, the overwhelming stories of his superhuman skills and lightning reflexes leave little room for doubt. Bruce Lee was truly a force to be reckoned with. But what set him apart from other fighters wasn't just his technique. It was his philosophy, which led him to a deeper understanding of himself and his art. Number 1. Be water. Bruce Lee's philosophy. Bruce Lee's famous be water philosophy is more than just a catchy line. It's a way of life. Water, as he described it, is the ultimate symbol of adaptability. It can fit into any shape, flow around obstacles, or even crash through them if needed. Bruce Lee applied this fluidity to every aspect of his life and fighting style. He didn't bind himself to tradition or rigid systems. Instead, he constantly reinvented himself and his approach. Whether it was a physical fight or a personal challenge, he was always ready to adjust, to flow, to be unpredictable. Bruce's genius wasn't just in his kicks and punches, but in his mind, the way he moved through life without being confined by limitations. This mindset made him a true original, and his legacy continues to inspire generations. His ability to adapt is a lesson not just for fighters, but for anyone looking to navigate life with grace and strength. What can Bruce Lee's life teach us about strength, balance, and adaptability? Let us know your opinion in the comments below.